So one of the last things to go ahead and cover over here, over on the JP version of the game for their 8th anniversary, besides the remaining servant buffs, but obviously I can't cover those until they come out, is the GSSR. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because unlike past GSSRs, there are very powerful characters that are just not a part of the GSSR. It looks like we might be reaching the point where FGO has selective GSSRs because they just have too many limited guys. I mean, if we scroll down here, and I'll kind of talk about which ones I think are the best, but you'll notice there's no Caster Scotty over here, and you'll notice Draco's not over here either. There's not even Merlin on the male side of the banner either. There are just very strong characters that are just completely gone from the GSSR, and I assume the reason they're doing something like that is to drive a bit more hype over to the Destiny Summon, because the Destiny Summon, you can get whoever you want on that one, and you make your own banner. So it seems as though they're trying to drive some traffic maybe over there to try and kind of promote this new Destiny Order Summon type thing that they got going on over there, but this might affect how things move going forward, right? Like for New Year's, if we have a GSSR, I don't think you can count on being able to just get whoever you want anymore. You can't count on like, okay, well, I'll just try to get Oberon on the next GSSR because he might not be on the next GSSR. He might only be available on the Destiny Order Summon, which for all of the praise that I've given Lasengel for making all of these, limited banners, just kind of spamming them out because it makes these rare limited servants more available, it's going to make some servants even more rare. I mean, it looks like someone like Oberon doesn't really go on raid up all that often, and he's a very valuable servant, as I'm sure a lot of my NA players are being able to see right now playing the Nerofest set. If you have Oberon, he makes your life a whole lot easier, right? But I just wanted to kind of mention that here at the beginning before we actually start diving into these GSSRs. Now, another thing that I should probably go over is how do you purchase the GSSR if you're playing on JP, right? Because once this comes to NA in like 2 years, you just buy the same quartz however, right? Just whatever region you're in. Well, if you're on iOS, I believe you can just swap your region to Japan. It's pretty easy. It's not all that difficult. If you're on Android, this is where you're living on veteran difficulty because it's kind of just some people can, some people can't, because I've tried to do the whole thing where, you swap your IP over to Japan using, some VPN, and then you make yourself a Japanese Play Store account. And I've done that, and it let me buy a whole 3 cent quartz. And then I think they realized that I was not from Japan and they kicked me out. And, my VPN was still on the entire thing. So, it worked a little bit for me. I know some people that are able to do that and they find massive success. Ultimately, I think you're just going to need to find a friend that you trust that still has the ability to do, purchases for the Google Play version. Because while I know a lot of people will swear up and down that you just got to do the VPN thing, I've tried that like 2 or 3 times and it just has not worked. So for some people it might work, for others it might not. I recommend finding a friend. I have a friend that's still able to make purchases over on JP, and I just always toss my JP account to them and I just throw them a couple bucks and have them purchase it for me, right? That's how you do it if you're on Android. If you're on iPhone, you're just cruising. You're living on absolute recruit difficulty, and that's why I've considered maybe swapping and getting an iPhone, but that's a whole other topic for a different day. If you're able to actually get this purchase and you do want to do the GSSR, which I do still think, even though it's like losing some of the servants, I suppose is what I would say, it has less of a pool to work with, I still think the value here is more than the Destiny Order Summon. Because remember, the Destiny Order Summon is still a 1 in 9 chance. You do pick all of the servants, but it's still 1 in 9. It's $30 for a normal $30 multi, right, with a guaranteed 5-star. Whereas this one, it's still discounted. It only costs you like $15 and you still get a full multi, and your odds of getting who you want aren't all that bad. Now, I say that as someone who did this GSSR right here trying to get Koyanskaya, and I got Summer Kama, right? But all of these are very powerful GSSRs, and I'm going to go through and kind of recommend some to some people. Now, if you're feeling very ballsy, for lack of a better term over here on the male side of things, you could try to go for the Oberon one. This is a 1 in 5 chance. I believe this is the worst one you could be summoning on, because the worst that these get are 1 in 4. These are like 1 in 3s, except for this one, because I think, again, they know that Oberon is very, very strong. And if you're able to get him, your account improves significantly. If you do want to try to go for this one, I wish you the best of luck. You basically got a 20% chance of getting Oberon as your, one 5-star. Technically, you could get numerous 5-stars, but I see that being less and less likely as things go on. In like year 2, I saw everybody getting 2-in-1 GSSRs. I did it like 2 years in a row. And then I don't know, all of a sudden, magically, now we're in, year 6 to 8, and I'm not seeing it as frequently anymore. But you technically still can get numerous 5-stars in your multi. But this is definitely one of the harder ones to go for because you're probably going to want Oberon. And the other guys, I mean, you're serviceable, like you're fine, you're also fine, like they're okay as arts loopers, but you're definitely going to use people like Space Ishtar, Summer Kama, your Ibukis, even your Summer Musashi. Like you're probably going to use them over these guys because they just don't compare as well when it comes to being a looper. Constantine has a very weird niche that, like, if you just need to have a super thick party, I suppose he can be kind of good. He's kind of got that defensive niche going on. That could be kind of nice. I just don't know how often you'll crack him out. Charlemagne's not a bad pickup. Like, if you don't get Oberon over here, but you do get Charlemagne, that's not bad. I think he's a little worse than the Summer Okita Altar, but that's not saying a lot because Summer Okita Altar is really good. The fact that I think he's kind of like right under her, I think speaks volumes for how good he is. Now, if you don't want to do this one, these aren't bad either. I mean, this is like a 1-in-3. All 3 of these guys are really good. Like, Muramasa is insane, as you guys on NA are now getting to experience, having gotten him for New Year's. Tyra, again, a lot of you guys are experiencing Tyra. You're using her for some of these CQs. Absolutely bonkers servant. And then Doman is also very, very good. He's a very strong, quick looper. The only thing that I have against him is that he's an alter ego, and so some mixed class nodes can be really good for him if it's like assassins and casters, but if it's like riders and sabers, it can kind of hinder him a little bit, but still very good for like, just pure devious teams where you're going to be bringing a lot of evil people just because he's like, guys, you just take like 100% crit damage. You just take it. Just absolutely eviscerate everything in our path. Very, very strong servant. This one, I don't know, not as much because Takasugi, oh man, this feels really bad because I was really looking forward to this guy and then we got him for White Day and he's just okay. Like, he's not offensively bad, but he's not really bringing anything new to the table. He's kind of just a solid guy with like a really good crit niche, and that's about it. Tetsuya Poke is very, very strong, although he's an assassin, and that does mean you got to deal with the assassin class modifier where they do literal negative damage. And then Rasputin's very funny. Kiri over here, you can pretty much just like infinitely stack NP damage with like infinite guts. If you could pull that off, it's super funny. I just don't know how useful that is for someone. But really, if you're going to be summoning on the male banner, you're probably going for this one for Oberon. But these are solid options. This is not a bad one to go for. But let's be honest, you're playing FGO because you want the wifeys, right? You're probably going to be hitting up the female banners over here. And I'm just going to go out and say it. This is probably one of the better ones to go for. You got a 1-in-3 chance for Koyenskaya, and they just put out Summer Morgan. I'm not calling it Tonalico, all right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying Summer Morgan, all right? Too much of a Morgan simp to let that one slide. So they just put out Summer Morgan. She's really good, and Koyenskaya was like built to work with her for lowering the cooldown of that 3rd skill. That's insane. And then if you don't get her, and this is why I wasn't super salty when I got Summer Kama, the other 2 guys on this banner are ridiculous loopers. This is a ridiculous quick looper, as you guys on NA will see in about a month from now. And you'll also see in about a month from now that Summer Kama is really ridiculous. Both of these guys are really good, strong loopers for quick and arts respectively if you don't get the main prize, which is Koyenskaya over here. Now, one of the other ones that I think is really strong is this one down here with the Summer Ibuki. It's a little bit worse than a 1-in-3 chance, but it's a 1-in-4 chance to get whoever you want. And again, all 4 of them are supremely powerful units. This, in my opinion, is like the best arts looper in the game right now. I have been absolutely loving Summer Ibuki. Sure, at NP1, she can miss out on a couple of kills here and there, but again, my Destiny Order summon got me NP2 Summer Ibuki, and she has not been disappointing ever since. But even then, NP1, very good. Can do boss killing as well as she yeets off enemy buffs and stuff. Very strong damage mod against Earth attribute, I believe. Very, very strong servant. Ruler Scotty over here basically brought Quick back into relevance. Didn't make it the best like everybody wanted, but she did make Quick relevant again. Like, if you wanted to use Quick servants, you can do that now because of Ruler Scotty. She is just kind of like the improved version of Caster Scotty. So if there's any quick servant you want to use, you pair it with Ruler Scotty, or she can be your looper for you because she also has a pretty solid special damage mod of her own. So very solid servant over there. Arcoweed, you guys know about Arcoweed over here, or Archetype Earth if you want to be very fancy and, you know, flex your Type Moon lore. But she's very strong, 100% battery, just solid damage as a Buster AoE servant. She is kind of married to Black Grail though because of that, but that's not really a problem, especially if you already have Oberon, because guess what Oberon loves? He absolutely loves Black Grail. And so if you can have somebody that can Black Grail farm, they're going to be very, very good in the meta, right? And that's why Arcoweed, you'll see that there's a very common kind of judgment for her, is that she's very good for new accounts and very good for stacked accounts, but in the middle she kind of suffers a little bit. And that's because for newer accounts, having someone that can just do like good free damage with 100% battery is insane. And if you're going to go for like NP3 or higher, you're really going to stack her up. Then she also looks really good because she's just so convenient when it comes to farming and just can kind of do whatever you want with her, right? Like you can do like 6 CE setups because, you know, she covers herself. She has 100% battery. But the reason she kind of falters a little bit for like more middling accounts, like not more middling, but if you're kind of like halfway through mid game, you know, is that you probably have a Buster AoE that does the job a little bit better, especially as we're seeing that people like Raikou and stuff are starting to get their buffs. You're probably going to rather use people like that that've got like more damage mods, they've got more type advantage to flex. That's kind of where Arcoweed struggles a little bit, but she's still strong. Like I don't want that to diminish that she is still a good unit. It's just you probably have better options when you're more in that mid to late game. But if you want to stack her up, you want to go for numerous copies, she will definitely put in work. Then there's Proto Merlin over here, or Lady Avalon as she calls herself in the summer event. She is kind of like a nice accessory to the arts meta because you can use her in place of a Castoria to loop. I have seen that be done, where you can kind of use her as a pseudo like kind of baby Castoria. She can also kind of like auto fire her NP from turn 1, so if you want to use her for more challenge quests, she's basically just Merlin but arts and like slightly improved. Like they just tacked on a couple of extra effects here and there. They gave her max HP buffs instead of just straight raw health regen, which helps her out a lot in just being a slightly better version of the OG Merlin. And OG Merlin is already really cracked. I just used OG Merlin like a day ago to use Lubu to beat up her because that guy is still crazy. So this I think is very strong because no matter who you get, they're all going to be very good. As opposed to going for something like, say, this one right here or this one. Like, yeah, like Kukulkan or like Bazette are definitely huge prizes, but the other servants on the banner, less so this one because Britomart and Huion are very, very similar as units. But, you know, this one, it's like, okay, if you can get Rikyu, who's like probably the best quick looper, or you can get Kukulkan over here, but you also have like half of a chance, like a 50-50 chance of getting kind of shafted on the banner. Same for this one where I like Baiken. I think the Trung Sisters are like pretty solid. Super Bunny's a little bit mid, but if you're really going for Bazette, you got a 75% chance of getting shafted. So I don't think some of these are the ones you really want to be going for. Two of the other ones that I kind of want to focus on is the Morgan one and the Castoria one up here. I think these ones are also particularly crazy because, sure, you're probably going for this one because the prize would be Castoria, but if you don't get her, you get Himiko, who is ridiculously good in like Buster setups where you're just able to crit everything into oblivion. She gives you 2 stages of overcharge, so you could just start taking advantage of really strong, very overpowered overcharge effects that some of your other Buster servants might have. She can do stall strategies. She's very strong. Kiara, strong looper if you need someone to do that. You could also get the 2-in-1. You get really lucky, get Castoria and Kiara. That could be a pretty sick, nasty GSSR, but she's also really good in more difficult content because that allows her skills to build up, and as you know, once you start ranking up her skills, they start getting really insane. The only problem with this banner is you got a 75% chance of getting that good, and you got a 25% chance of getting absolute mid. And so that's a little bit of a danger on this banner that I don't really see on this one right here, if you're trying to pick between the two, because sure, Morgan at NP1 can be a little disappointing, but as soon as you get a damage mod, even at NP1, she'll put in a lot of work for you. And again, like Himiko, you can also use her in some stall strategies. If you already have Koyan Sky and Oberon, you can use her as a looper. Karen is a very solid quick looper. She's not the best quick looper in the game, but she is very solid and you can get some usage out of her. Miss Crane unlocks a myriad of different strategies that you can use with her, basically being another plug suit that also gives you a ton of generic buffs for your party, you know, just like attack, NP damage, battery, just nice generic good stuff. And Melusine, come on. we all know Melusine is nuts. She can be your arts single target DPS, or she can be your Buster Looper, a very, very valuable unit. Very similar to someone like Space Ishtar, who you'll notice is also not on this banner, right? Another very strong, versatile unit that they kind of cut out of here. But those are kind of my opinions on a lot of the GSSRs. If you're like, well, what about this one right here? It's like, yeah, this one is very strong. Like, Ibuki's a good Buster farmer. She can do kind of decent in certain challenge quests. You know, Doman, same thing. Van Gogh's kind of like the quick version of Himiko, TLDR. And we already talked about, you know, Tyro over here. And then, like, this one, just would kind of avoid it. I mean, I think Izumo's good, I think you're good, and I think you're solid. It's just, I think there are better GSSRs to go for. The 4-star servants, I didn't really hit on them that much, because while they're, I guess, nice, none of them are, like, super crazy. Like, no one here is, like, a crazy meta-defining servant. I think Kriemhild is pretty good. I think Hephaestion is pretty good. I've been using them a lot on JP as kind of boss killers, but, you know, like, if you've used Bargus, like, she can be really good, but at NP1, she kind of hits like a wet noodle. Still got the whole, like, undying thing. She just does a lot less damage, but, you know, you got, like, fun servants over here. Like, Dobra's not crazy, but she's good. Zenobia is not crazy, but she's solid enough, right? Same thing for, like, Corday. Corday's a fun unit to use. That's kind of the 4-star you got over here. Look, just be happy that you might just get yourself like a summer servant. You might get yourself a nice baddie alongside, I don't know, who knows, maybe your Melusine or Morgan or something over here. But let me know what you're going to be summoning on in the comments down below. If you're an NA player, I would love to hear which one seems the most tantalizing to you, because I'm assuming most people are hitting up the female side of things, because I don't know anybody that's going to go for this banner, unless you really like Tetscalapoca, which I do like him. I think he's a cool dude in story, but am I going to be going for his GSSR? Probably not. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice rest of your day. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for future daily FGO content. And I will catch you guys on the flippity floppity.